Howdy, howdy, and welcome back. We are yet another Workshop Wednesday together, you and I. I'm so happy that you are here. Today's edition is a Getting Started edition, so it's kind of a beginner topic. But this one is one of those ones where you want to have some experience with Data Studio, a little bit of experience with Google Analytics and Google Analytics 4, hopefully. And this is the part where you're like, okay, I've got some stuff set up with GA4, and I want to be able to transition my Data Studio reports. This is exactly the exact same situation that we're in at measurementmarketing.io. We're starting to move over our reports to using GA4 as a data source. So we're going to talk about the differences between Universal Analytics and GA4, and then show you actually how to transition dashboards from kind of before and after Universal to Google Analytics 4. Before we get too far into this, if this is your first workshop, welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. I do go by Mercer. You feel free to call me Mercer. Everybody does. I am the co-founder of measurementmarketing.io. Whether you found us on podcasts and talks that we constantly are out there giving, whether it's through some of the content we share with platforms like CXL Institute or Social Media Examiner or Measure Summit or Digital Marketer, or maybe you're already a member over at measurementmarketing.io, whether you're a paid Academy member or a free Toolbox member. However you found us, we're happy that you are here. It is our job to help you learn how to use all these fun tools. And today we're going to be talking about Data Studio primarily, but of course, analytics as the data source. Now, we talk about the framework each and every training that we do, the Measure Marketing Framework. Remember, when you're first starting out as a marketer, you're kind of marketing in the blind. We all do. Our goal is to get to the point where we can predictably grow revenue and increase profits. So how do we actually do that? First, we plan. We plan by asking questions, making sure we got our questions. Then we plan about the information that we need to get answers to those questions. What information will we need to collect to do that? Then we plan what actions will we take based upon the answers we get. Finally, with our plans in place, now that we've got our measurement plan built, then we go into the actual building out of the plan. We make sure that we are putting our traffic in so we know our who, what, and why. Then we go into our results, so you know what results we're actually looking for, and so we know our results and how. Then we know our structure. We make sure we put it into the system, in this case, Google Analytics, so that it properly tells a story. Once we've got the story, it's all about reading that story, right? Figuring out what the reports are actually telling us. We use those benchmarks to then forecast our future results. And ultimately, we measure against our future results and we optimize the steps that we know need to be addressed. And that is how we get to the point where we can particularly grow revenue. All right. With that, we want to focus on just one thing with this training. Remember, with all of our trainings, especially with these tools, let's face it, these things can be really complicated. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces laying around. So what we're going to do is we want to make sure that when we focus on this, we're just focusing on one new thing, one new idea, something that's just maybe a little different, or maybe it is something that's a technique, a skill that you see demonstrated here where you're like, oh, maybe I can go ahead and practice that. You take that, you practice that, then you come back, rewatch this workshop, you'll pick up another new one thing. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Getting started. Universal Analytics versus GA4 in Google Data Studio. How do you actually transition all of this fun stuff? Well, I'm not going to tell you. Julie Brade, our guest instructor. She's our lead instructor over at measurementmarketing.io. She's been teaching measurement marketing to our private gated. This is so simple for me to say. She's been teaching our measurement marketing to private guided training students ever since 2017. She's account manager for us as well for dedicated measurement management clients. She's an absolute Data Studio rock star. She handles all of our reports. She runs our reporting division and trains our staff on it as well. So she just knows a thing or two about Google Data Studio. And in particular, she is at this point in time where she's being asked by yours truly, by myself, when we have our conversations about measurementmarketing.io, she's being asked, okay, we need to be able to just, bite the bullet. We got to transition to Google Analytics 4 like the rest of the world is. And we want to get ahead of the curve. Well, that means we have to start forcing ourselves to use Data Studio. Instead of just hooking it into Universal Analytics, we need to start hooking it into GA4 because honestly, that's how we're going to force ourselves to make GA4 even better. Right? Because unless you have to, let's face it, you and I both know that's how it works in a lot of organizations. Unless we have to, we won't. So we're going to force ourselves to do that. That's why we're going through this process ourselves and why we wanted you to see it as well. And Julie kindly agreed to go ahead and move this forward. So without further ado, Julie Brade, if you're there, I'm going to let you go ahead and share screens and get set up and give us little details on how we actually transition from Universal Analytics into Google Analytics 4 with Google Data Studio.
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction, Mercer. So excited to be here, and I can't wait to show you how to transition your dashboards using GA4 start to finish. So we have here is a demo dashboard that's actually quite literally copied and pasted from our different parts and pieces of our actual dashboard for Academy. And what I mean by that is that it's not demo data. It's coming directly from our Universal Analytics, and this is real data. And so when we transition to using Google Analytics 4, we should get a similar story. So what we're going to start out with is quite literally copying and pasting all of this, and then we will swap piece by piece and see how everything kind of comes together. And if you are not familiar with Google Analytics 4, Mercer will walk you through at the very end all of the different courses and workshops that we have available in our Academy that can get you started. So this particular workshop is for those of you that already have your Google Analytics 4 set up and ready to go and start using that data that is in there. So what do we do first? Well, first is we want to be able to add our new data source. We're going to click on our resource and we're going to manage added data sources. And we're going to click add a data source. We're going to choose our Google Analytics and we're going to choose our account. And this is where we go and find our property that we're looking for. And I could see right here that this one ends in 548. And we have it named GA4. So if you don't happen to have yours named in an efficient way so you can easily find it, highly recommend you do that. But the other way that you'd be able to find it is by using that number. And so we come in here, we go to our different properties, and of course you can see those numbers here again. So we have 548. Excuse me, I clicked on that old one. Let's go back to our 548, and then we can also go to property settings, and then we can see it here again that ends in 548. So that's how you kind of tie everything together to make sure that you are choosing the right property to connect to. So now once we have that selected, we just click on add, and it's going to do its thing and show up in our list of data sources now. So we'll go ahead and close, and now we're just going to add piece by piece. We're going to swap things out. So everything up here is universal. Everything down here is eventually going to become Google Analytics 4. Let's go ahead and start with where is the traffic coming from. And we're going to click on this, and we're just going to swap out our data source first. So when I hover, I see this pencil icon, which is if I wanted to edit it. That's not what I want to do. What I want to do is click on this X, and that means there's nothing here. There's no more data that it's connected to. And I'm going to click on add the data source, and I'm going to hover and choose to make sure I'm choosing the right one. It says GA4. Eventually we're going to get a little bit quicker at this because I can very quickly and easily see which one's which. And so there we go. And so what it does is actually chooses dimensions and metrics based on kind of the order they are in the list. So let's say event name on and the source up here just happen to be in the same slot of the data source. So that's the reason why it's not saying, hey, this is the equivalent. That's not what it's saying at all. But we have to find the equivalent and know what we're looking for. So what we're looking for is source. So we're going to come over here to our list and start typing in that. And so this is what we see here. So let's go ahead and just drag it over and see what happens. That is not at all what we are looking for, and we can just kind of scroll up to compare. That's not what we're looking for at all. So what is going on? And we're not going to dive too deep into this because this is also part of those other courses and workshops that Mercer will show you later. But I just want you to see that it is quite easy to assume that we know what we're going to grab, but it's not what we need to grab at all. So you will need to be familiar with what things are called in Google Analytics 4 and the equivalent of what you're trying to find in GA4 that is comparable to what's in Universal Analytics. So in this particular case, this is not what we're looking for. What we are looking for to compare to this source is actually session source. Perhaps one day you will be using the user source, but in this case today we're going to choose session source. That's a little bit hard to say fast. Session source. And then we also don't want to do views because that's not the equivalent of users. So we're again going to look for the word users and see what we can find. New users, the exact same thing that we have in Universal Analytics, and that's not what we want. What we want is actually total users. So we're going to drag and drop. And so now we have our dimension. Actually, we're going to start at the top. We have our data source swapped. We have our dimension swapped. We have our metric swapped. And now we need to have our filter added. Excuse me. We're down here. So this filter, the reason why we have it in red is because it belongs to a different data source. So let's go ahead and click on it, and it's going to kind of like, hey, it's, you know, we don't have these things. So that's okay. We can create a new filter based off of what we're looking for. And this goes again to, we need to know how things are, you know, how things are labeled and what they're called in GA4 to be able to create a proper filter. And so in order to do that, this is me playing around with stuff, and I will show you exactly how to go ahead and create that. What we want to do, actually we're going to take a step back. I want to show you what we did with Universal. So we want to know, so we can mimic it in GA4. So we have our offer page here, which is actually just users. We just renamed it so it can tell the story better. And then we have our filter down here, and what this is just a page that contains this little part and piece. And so what I'm going to do is actually copy this. And so what would be an equivalent to a page? Well, let's go and see if we can find out. We can actually scroll all the way down here. We're going to click on filter and create the filter now. And let's see what we have. So when we come through, we don't see page like what we just did with Universal. You can definitely try each and every single one of these if you want to. I will tell you the shortest way of the information that you're going to have to use that's default is probably going to be page path. Your setup might be a little bit different, but most of us should have page path there. And then we're going to say contains, and then I'm going to paste. And something really important that I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to get rid of the host name because that's technically not part of the page path. I'm not going to get into the what's and the whys and all of that other stuff there. You know, that's part of something that's in the courses, but I just want to let you know to make this work, I'm getting rid of that part because this is technically the page path. And so what I'll name this is, I'm going to say page path contains, and I'm just going to say Academy offer page just to kind of keep it consistent with our naming conventions. And we can go ahead and save. And now what I would expect is that this should align somewhat with what we have up here in this. And so the numbers aren't going to be perfect because our Universal Analytics is removing our own internal traffic and some other traffic. And then this one, our Google Analytics 4 is not. So they're kind of set up slightly different. But we wanted to be able to show you how to do this, but we're still getting a very useful truth because we're not going to be going through the funnel every single day. So you'll see that. And so now what we're going to do is kind of do the exact same thing with medium, campaign, and ad content. So we're going to go through it a little bit quicker, but it's kind of just using those muscles. So we're going to swap the data source, choose the correct one. We know we're looking for medium. So we want session medium. We don't want the views, we want users, and we know we want total users. And now we want to add our correct filter, and that's the one. And so we're going to do the same thing 2 more times. And one thing we actually can do real quick, we're going to select both of them and we're going to swap, get rid of that data source and make it to the new GA4. And so that way we kind of just made our steps go a little bit faster. And we're going to choose users. And so this one's going to be, we have our source, our medium, campaign. We have our session campaign. All right, so those 3 have been fixed. We have this last one, and we're going to start with this one because we know exactly what it is, total users. And this last one, let's see if it's called the same thing. I'm not seeing add campaign here. Let's see what happens when we type in session. And we're not seeing it here. So let's see if we just type in content. We're going to see these different options. I can tell you right now that none of these are it. You can definitely try and see if this is going to work for you. But let's go to Google Analytics 4 and see what we can see there. So we're going to start with our acquisition reports because that's where our traffic is coming from, how we acquire. And let's try traffic acquisition and see if we can see anything that looks like what we're looking for. And so I want to try here. I'm not seeing anything that is what we're looking for. So just to shortcut the chase of what we're looking for, again, Mercer will talk to you about this and where to find all of this extra stuff here, is it's not here yet. Google Analytics 4 is still, a work in progress. So, we're assuming that eventually we'll have this ability to do that. As of right now, we don't. So you could just, technically what you could do is grab a little shape, grab a little thing here, and what we're going to do is just cover it up, and it's going to be a blank for now. And so when it is ready to be shown, all we got to do is remove our shape out of the way and it'll be ready to go. But for now, that is one little piece of our puzzle that we're not able to transition, only because it's not quite ready yet. Hopefully it will be. Otherwise, maybe there's another way that we'll still get the same useful truth, and it's just a different piece that we will use. So we have, where is our traffic coming from? Let's go ahead and do these other pieces, and then we will get to our funnel. So again, we're going to come over here to our data tab. We are going to swap out our data source. We're going to grab that one, and so again, it chose views. We want to make sure we're using users, and in this case, it's total users. And we're going to swap out our filter for the correct one. And same thing here, choosing the right data source. And I don't want user source. This one kind of swapped into something a little bit different. That's interesting. So users, we're going to choose total users. And getting rid of that pie chart, we're going to choose that one. There we are. And so device category apparently was in this right spot, and it had a dimension that was named the exact same thing. So this one actually stuck. So we're great. Then let's go ahead and adjust our funnel, which I know that's what all you have been looking for. So we're going to do the exact same thing, but now we will have to, this step is going to be very similar, but then we add our cart and our transactions. That's where it's going to get a little bit different. So we'll go ahead and do this first one the exact same way, adjusting the data source, adjust our metric to what is the useful truth, in this case, total users, and then adjusting our filter to choose that it's when the page path contains that particular Academy offer page. we're not going to touch the conversion rate just yet. We will go on to, actually, let's go ahead and name it real quick. So we're clicking on our pencil and we're saying offer page. There it goes. And so we could see it's still using total users, but we're naming it offer page just to tell the story a little bit easier. Now with cart, we're going to go ahead and change our data source, change our metric to be total users, and get rid of this filter because that's the universal one. And let's go ahead and grab the new filter. And I believe, let's see if this is the one that I created earlier when I was getting everything ready. So it is a part of the same data source, and we are including when the page path contains order forms. So we only have one funnel currently in this particular date range for Infusionsoft Forms. Otherwise, I would normally have it very specific, saying a very specific order form. But in this case, we're good to use this right here because we don't have any other order forms. So, but this is how you would say a cart page, exact same concept of what you did here with your Academy offer page. So we're going to go ahead and save that. We will rename this to say cart. And now we have a few more steps to go, and then we have transitioned our entire dashboard using Google Analytics 4. So we have this one to swap out the data source, and it's actually dumped us into sessions. So we can look for transactions and we could see what happens here. Might not be what we're looking for, could be what we're looking for. But let's see if there's another way to do that as well. So let's go ahead and change this to total users again and see if there's another way that we can also add in a filter. And we can also, just because we know in our Google Analytics 4, we have events, and then one of those event names is called purchase. So if we can create a filter, and I actually have it right here, and I'll show you exactly how it's named. If we have an event name that contains purchase, that would work as well. So there's more than one way to do it. So, and then obviously, depending on your setup, you can get a little bit more specific, and you could say and all these other different things you want to do. For today, we're just going to keep it super simple. So we have an offer page, we have a cart, and then we're going to change this up here to be, we'll say buyers or to purchase. Because technically it's not a thank you page, it is a purchase. And so we have those. And then we will go ahead and change the revenue real quick, and we'll figure out the way to do that. And so if I want to say revenue, what do we have here? We can say total revenue. And then I can also add the filter too. Again, if I was being something very specific on a very specific funnel or very specific product, I would want to keep this consistent of this and this, so there's telling the same story. In this particular instance, again, because we have this one funnel, it is going to be the exact same thing. So now how do we do our conversion rates? It's very simple to just grab our bottom number and then select our top number. We're going to right click and blend data. You have seen me do this in previous workshops, so I'm going to go a little bit faster here. So I see this is blended data 4. I am going to just move this out of the way, grab the one that's behind it where I want it to go, and swap it out. So it's, I'm going to just type in 4, and we'll have blended data 4. And I'm going to remove the blue one real quick just so I can see what's going on. And it's the, maybe later, and it's just the formula. We're going to adjust this real quick because it's trying to use users and users instead of saying sum of cart divided by sum of offer page. And now we're going to apply. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and grab this formula so I don't have that same issue. We'll see. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with cart, the purchase, and the cart. So selected purchase first and cart second. We're going to blend the data, and we have that. I now see it's blended data 5. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. I don't need it anymore, but I am going to come over here, get rid of this data source, choose blended data 5, and then I'm going to come into this formula and paste what I just had a while ago. And this is not transactions, it's called purchases. That's the reason I didn't like it. There we are. And the reason we're getting these little red errors is because they're called something slightly different from what than what the universal. So we have one more to do, and that is going to be purchase over offer page. And we're going to blend those as well so we can have this one down here. And I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I know it's blended data 6. And technically we could have just grabbed all 3 of these numbers and have one data set, but for simplicity, this is the quickest and the fastest way to get this information. And I wanted to show you how to do this. So we have sum, let's get rid of all of that. So we have sum of purchase divided by sum of offer page, and apply. And now we are going to go ahead and view our dashboard. And now we see that we have a working Google Analytics 4 dashboard and a working Universal Analytics dashboard, and it's telling a very, very similar story. Again, this particular view does not have our internal traffic to it, and this one does. So as we were testing a few times for certain things, you're going to see our internal traffic go through there. So if I click on Infusionsoft, it's going to work very similarly to what we see up here if I click on Infusionsoft up here. Same thing if I were to say, well, looks like we had a really big spike on this particular date range, so let's choose, let's hover and choose these dates. Actually, we have to turn on our interactions. We'll do that real quick. We're going to actually show that bonus tip for you. We're going to select this chart and we're going to come over here and say apply filter. So I see this really big spike. I'm now back in our view mode and I say I want to see only these date ranges. And it did not like that. Let's see what happens when I refresh the data, because it says, well, let's go ahead and reset. So there might be some little things that Data Studio and Google Analytics 4 are still working on. Because if we were to come up here to do that with the Universal, we do have that ability. We'll just double check to make sure that it's just not a weird little glitch today at this very moment in time. So we see everything kind of adjust. And then let's see what happens when I do that again here. Nope, it does not like it very much. So we assume that it'll be something that Data Studio is improving upon and Analytics 4. About every single month, we are seeing Data Studio and Google Analytics 4 kind of working together more and more and I mean that by saying that you're able to pull more things from Google Analytics 4 into Data Studio. Just a few months ago, Source, Medium, and Campaign weren't able to be pulled into. So about every month, there's a big batch of dimensions or metrics that we're able to use in a Data Studio from Google Analytics 4, and so I feel like all these little things like this, being able to use the filters will definitely work. However, we're definitely able to use these table filters and filtering by the different traffic sources. Let's see if we're able to filter by the device category, and definitely still able to do that. So so we'll just kind of watch the table and see, maybe one day we'll be able to do that one again. And yeah, so now if we want to just reset everything, we have a fully functioning Google Analytics 4 dashboard. And for us, will continue to use our universal until we have full visibility into our Google Analytics 4. But I'll let Mercer take it away, and he'll kind of explain more of our plans to transition with Google Analytics 4.
All right. Well, thank you for that so much. I know sometimes when it comes to Data Studio, there's always these little glitches around the way. But really, what was your one thing for this whole adventure? I know for me, it was, when Julie's going to transition it over. And this is why we're doing this now, right? This is why it's important that you try to do this now. Simple things like term and content, well, they're just not available yet in Google Data Studio. Here's a weird secret. Even the regular traffic stuff wasn't available until somewhere around the end of March 2021, early April. Like, that was it. So it was like, okay, wait a second. That's, this stuff that you're so used to seeing all the time in Universal Analytics, some of it's just not going to be there. It is in GA4. This is the weird part. It is in GA4 as an actual platform, but it's just not accessible by Google Data Studio yet. It will be, but not yet. At least my guess is it will be. So, but this is why it's important now, right? Right now is why you need to start transitioning stuff. Not so that, and this is why we're doing it. We're not doing it so that we can start using these reports tomorrow to make decisions. We're doing it so we can learn this stuff to go, oh, there's a nuance. We don't have this information yet. And okay, we don't have this information yet. Oh, we're going to have to adjust GA4 to make sure we have this information. And that's why we go through this entire process, and why you should as well. All right. Now, next week, we're actually going to talk about a very popular topic, which is GTM server side. We're going to have an introduction, and yet another guest speaker is going to help us out with this. Julian over at Measure School actually is going to be presenting that one. So if you would like that one, just make sure you subscribe to the channel. So just go ahead and click subscribe. It'll notify you. Let us know when we go live. We'll tell you about it. And then, of course, you will be able to see all the other ones as well. So thank you again for all those who continue to subscribe and to spread the word. Love those. By the way, if you want another way to get the videos, there is a free option to our membership, which you can more than welcome take advantage of. It's the Measurement Marketing Toolbox. Includes all these workshops, includes all of these different tools, and then some. There's actually about 40 different tools back here, all built for measurement marketers to kind of use and improve their own marketing results. Specifically when it comes to measurement. So that is completely free. If you're interested in that, just go to measure.tip/ww. You can learn more there. It's just a simple sign up, email, first name, and you're off to the races. And you've got your free Toolbox membership. That said, if you are not yet a part of the Measurement Marketing Academy, it is our paid program. It is our flagship program. But if you're interested in getting some training and you want something that's a bit beyond maybe what you've seen before, this is the one to take a look at, the Measurement Marketing Academy. So we built the Academy to help you do this. That's the entire point, is from going point A to point B, helping you go through planning, building, and then actually acting upon the information that you get, all these different stages and steps through there. Now, a really quick tour I wanted to show you just so you can see it. This is the Academy. When you log in, you see this is what you have access to, these 6 core components here. Just to give you a quick tour, this is the courses. So they are organized by date. Yes, we update them all the time. So at least once a month, there's an update of some sort, whether it's a brand new course or an update to an existing course. We are currently updating actually this week when Google Tag Manager Beyond Basics. You can see before that, we updated Data Studio Basics. Before that, Google Sheets Basics. Before that, it was Google Analytics Setup. Coming up next month, we're doing Win Google Tag Manager server side. So we'll have an entire course on that. The month after that, we're updating Google Analytics 4 Basics, etc., etc. So you see all these. Meanwhile, they're also by topic. So if you want to see the Google Analytics stuff, there's that, including the GA4 that we did in October. It was actually the second update. We did that one. We'll do the third update in a couple of months. Tag Manager updates right here. We just did the basics early in January. We had updated Google Tag Manager basics, and you can see back here for retargeting, even JavaScript. We've got dashboards and reporting quite a bit back here. So how to learn measuring funnels or customer journeys. Obviously, Data Studio covering lots of that fun stuff back here. Retention and churn for those that are having like SaaS issues or membership sites like we do. If you want to measure that sort of stuff. And then we have a measurement strategy, which I think is the hard part for a lot of people. It's not so much like learning how to set a goal in Google Analytics. It's realizing what should a goal be? What should a conversion version be? How do I think about this stuff? What information do I do with the numbers once I get them? So there's all these back here as well. And that's just the courses, right? So that's just the actual courses itself right here. The on-demand workshops is this section. This is where you are watching right now. This is the Workshop Wednesday. So you get the current Workshop Wednesday. Obviously, you can also watch this on YouTube as well. However, you also have all of these unlocked. So all of the What's News from the previous episodes that we've done. You see all of the Getting Started, the Beyond Basics, the strategy sessions. So they're all back here for you, and they've all been edited down to what we call student editions. So like this part of it's not going to be in these, right? This is just kind of a focused edition for our students only. So the pitch stuff has been taken out. The introduction stuff has been taken out. It's really just, hey, here's our topic, and it's got Zoom effects and everything else. So it's a lot shorter and sweeter and to the point. So all of these. And why do we have these back here? Because it's a really nice library to be able to say, I want to go learn how to set goals. And you would type in whatever the thing is that you're looking for, and the entire website is searched and brought back, the entire platform, and it says, okay, this is the stuff that matches that. So here's a strategy to do goals. Here are the lessons, the workshops. Here are the lessons in the courses that have that. So you can learn more about, whatever the topic is that you need help with. So that is the on-demand workshop. You get that as part of the Academy membership. Now, speaking of help, right? When you need help, what do? There's a couple places. We have Winner Circle, which is really the community. So we've got the Winner Circle, the different groups back here. So you have all the people asking questions and helping each other, so you have that back here as well. It's kind of where your peers are. It's a really good place if you're trying to figure out, Winner Circle is, if you're trying to figure out an answer to a question where maybe we're not the expert. Like if you ask a technical SEO question, we're not going to be the right people to ask that, but our members certainly are. Some of them are very good at technical SEO stuff, and they understand measurement marketing, so they can help you out. But sometimes you have questions that it's really just between you and somebody else, and you want some help. You kind of need like a consultant on call type of thing. That's what this is. Ask an Instructor support right in here. This Ask Instructor support. So what that looks like is when you come into here, you go into this Ask Instructor section, click and ask a question, and it's literally just a conversation on your side to our side, our instructors over at measurementmarketing.io. So you can pop in your question, pop in the details of your question. More importantly, please send us videos and screenshots. We love seeing those, where you're showing kind of like, imagine calling us over virtually to your side of your workstation, saying, okay, here's what I'm running into. Here's what my dashboard looks like. I'm trying to figure this out. Or, here's the error I'm seeing. Or here's what my customer journey looks like. I'm not even sure where to start. Where would you start? Any of the questions, doesn't matter. If it's related to measurement marketing, we'll help you out as best we can. So send over videos and screenshots. Our instructors send over videos and screenshots back to you so you can get unstuck and on the way. And then, of course, you've got a permanent, record of it, I should say. Not a permanent record, a record of it. So you've got this question here where you can reference it later if you need to. So it's your own little built-in personal reference library that's sitting there for you in the Ask an Instructor support. So again, that's, this section right here. And of course, you can manage your account. This is the toolbox. So the toolbox, I will say this is the resources section here. This is the toolbox. Everything that actually the toolbox members still get this stuff for free, but you as an Academy member get it done guides. So this is a brand new section that we are building out. So this is kind of like you're seeing this for the first time. So these get it done guides, there are specific ones for specific reports or specific things that you are, maybe a multi-step thing that you need to do. Eyes on the Journey reports, very popular report that we're doing and teaching our members. And so there's a little sheet on like, here's how to get this done. And it takes you those steps, and it's got its own little video and templates and everything else for you. So we have these little get it done guides we're coming out just for Academy members. So again, making sure that you knew that you had access to that as well. So that's really the Academy itself as we go through. So specifically in the Measure Marketing Academy, courses, the Ask Instructor support, the on-demand workshop library, Winner Circle, of course, a bunch of other stuff. You get all the courses and all the updates. You have access to everything. There's no limitations. You have access to all the courses, all the updates, everything. You have access. The courses are roughly $3,500 in value, only because we used to sell those. We still do occasionally sell each one for like a couple $100, for lifetime. So it's like, okay, you get access to that much value back there. The Ask Instructor support, $400, $500 is about what we charge them for it. $497 whenever we did used to do that separately. So you've got access to that. The on-demand workshop library, true story. We sold all those workshops for $20 a pop back in the day. Not anymore. Just can't buy them separate. It's too hard to manage that. So we just have it all. But that's $4,000 at least. There's 200 workshops back there. Now there's more. So it's at least $4,000 in value. So think about all the access that you've got access to, the value you've got access to. The Winner Circle community, at least worth $100 to have something like that there. So that's over $8,500 in value in terms of training and support that you have access to when you're a member of the Academy. But obviously, it's not worth paying $8,500 a month for. I would love you to do that, but it's just not worth paying that. But it is that much value that's back there. It is substantially less. Check out the current offers over at measure.tips/getacademy to learn more about the Measurement Marketing Academy. We have monthly and annual options available. We always try to obviously make the annual option a better deal for you. I would encourage you to do that because, as with all things, when you get into measurement marketing, you realize like, wow, this is a big world and you want to learn about stuff and you want to stay up to date on the changes. And so I would recommend the annual option, but obviously, try us out. Try us out for the monthly option. Either way, you can see all the different details on that page, measure.tips/Get Academy, to learn more about the Measurement Marketing Academy. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this workshop. This has been Getting Started, Universal Analytics versus Google Analytics 4 in Google Data Studio. Now you know all about how to transition. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next workshop. Take care.